next speaker is also coming to us from New Zealand. I got it correct that time. And it's Gareth Hughes. He's going to speak to us about well-being economy.
Well, I'm greetings from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Kia ora, ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. E whānau mai au e te taha Aotearoa, Tarawhiti, Gisborne, hiuri ahau no Wales, Scotland, o ke ki te noho o ke te whanganui o Tara, Wellington, ko Gareth Hughes toku ingoa. So I just greeted you in New Zealand's first language, Te Reo Māori. I introduced where I'm from, which is Tarawhiti, Gisborne. My ancestry is Welsh and Scottish. I now live in the capital city, Wellington, and I acknowledge Rauri in his presentation before. I've got 10 minutes to talk to you about what I think is one of the most important issues and areas we can be working on, which is how do we get the economy working in service of people and te taio, or nature, or the environment. At the moment, it feels like it's people and planet in service to the economy. How do we reshape that and have that working the other way around? I want to introduce myself and how I've come to this work. I'd like to talk about the Global Wellbeing Economy Alliance, our work here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and some key policies that might be able to help us get closer to a reshaped economy. So I come to you today having spent 25 years trying to make a better world, and I've used every tactic possible. I've led marches up the main street in Auckland. I've led court cases and inquiries and petitions. I served a decade as a member of parliament in New Zealand with the Green Party. And I realized that I've been spending a lot of those years focused on the symptoms, child poverty, climate pollution. Really, where we need to, I believe, collectively put our efforts is redesigning the economic system so we aren't causing those problems by design, by default. The Wellbeing Economy Alliance was formed in 2018 when leading new economy thinkers such as Kate Raworth, the founder of Donut Economics, Tim Jackson, Dr. Catherine Trebek, and many others who came together globally, realizing there was more that united than separated new economy thinkers. There was a clear, urgent global need to reshape economic systems, particularly when you look at the global poverty, the planetary boundaries which are being breached, climate change being probably the most prominent. And that was the catalyst for the formation of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. We're a time-limited movement, a coalition of individuals, organizations, even governments such as New Zealand, which was a foundational member joining alongside Iceland, Finland, and others. We're an alliance of academics, of policymakers who we connect. In Aotearoa, we've been running for a few years now with this mission to reshape the economy around people and planet. In New Zealand, when you look at some of our statistics, such as the fact we use more than almost any other country in the world, a fair share of the atmosphere to dump our pollution. We have the 5th highest per person emissions in the developed world. When you look at how our wealth is being shared in New Zealand, and we are a wealthy country, but if the wealth of New Zealand was split into kai, or plates of food, when you divided the wealth of New Zealand into 10 plates of food for a table of 10 diners, one diner would have 5 plates of food in front of them, 4 would have 1 plate each, but the other remaining 5 at the other end of the table would have to share a single plate amongst them. So we're not seeing a sustainable or a just and fair economy. We work on research, we work on promoting solutions, and importantly, we work on bringing people together with a vision how we can transform the economy. Where I'm seeing the real leadership in this space in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is in Te Ao Māori or Indigenous approaches. I'd love to share a few examples which I know my colleagues around the world see as inspiring and a pathway forward. The first thing I would mention is last year I was going to do a national speaking tour around New Zealand, talking about all the exciting new ideas and policies and case studies we're seeing internationally. But then I got some good advice, which was to flip it on its head. And why don't you actually go around the country and talk to ordinary people about their views and their aspirations, the values they want to see in the economy. So I did that, spent 6 weeks on the road in a camper van, hearing from a representative sample of New Zealanders in big towns and small. And what I heard is that the current economy aren't seeing these ordinary human values being expressed of care, of compassion, of connection to nature. But where we are seeing those expressed right now in practical terms is in Māori entities in New Zealand. Some of you may be aware of the pioneering legal personhood for Te Urewera, near to where I'm from on the east coast of the North Island, or the Wanganui River that's been granted legal personhood in statute. And that was a privilege for me to vote for that and support it in Parliament. We see other concepts such as the ability to think longer term and intergenerationally. When you point to many of the crises which we're talking about globally today, such as new technologies, climate change, education, others have called it the polycrisis. What we need to do is make sure we're thinking of future generations. I can point you to the Wakatu Incorporation, the largest employer in the top of New Zealand's South Island, which doesn't just have a quarterly or an annual business strategy, they have a 500-year strategy. And likewise, the first urban bird sanctuary in New Zealand, which I live down the road from in the capital city, Wellington, again, following, has a 500-year strategy. We see other examples, such as in the public policy space with He Ara Waiora. Many of you may have heard of New Zealand's wellbeing budgets under the previous government and the living standards framework that underpinned it. I don't want to go into the detail because I would need several hours to go through all that detail. But one of the most inspiring iterations of that underlying policy-making framework was He Ara Waiora, created by Dr. Sasha McMeeking and others. Here is a model for public service that puts the spirit and the connection to nature right at the heart of what it means to be delivering on behalf of your citizens in a democratically elected government. I would urge people to look at He Ara Waiora, which is an incredible framework. I mentioned Kate Rowse pioneering new economics framework, donut economics, which allows us to visualize where we're not meeting social flaws, and this can be displayed for countries, and when we're breaching those planetary boundaries. Here, again, we see Indigenous approaches, I think, taking this to the next level and providing global inspiration. Taina Boasadine from Tuhoi reimagined the Māori perspective, and what Taina did was effectively invert that donut. Instead of the environment, our planet, being a hard boundary we can't breach, something external and distant to us, she put it right at the heart of her reimagining of the donut, reflecting the deep connections we have to the environment and the need to have an economy that's grounded in planetary boundaries. But I think she's turning that to a strengths-based approach. That deep connection actually nourishes us and regenerates our souls. So I'm almost at about time. I wanted to introduce some of our work, some of the areas where New Zealand isn't doing too well, but some areas where we can take a lot of hope and inspiration for the future. I'm looking around the world at the moment as well, joining you on the global Equinox, looking at where my ancestors have come from with Wales and the world-leading first Future Generations Commissioner, which was appointed in Wales in 2015, a champion for thinking long-term and intergenerationally, which we're leading some work to see if that could be applied here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So greetings from Aotearoa. I wish you the best for the global Equinox, and I'm looking forward to seeing other speakers and participating in discussion. Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi nui. Thank you very much.